nikah with a pregnant woman. To me, I want to address this as an incompatibility, and we see what are the scholarly views about it. And because the moderator always wants my take, I will give you my take. A pregnant woman is not compatible for marriage according to the majority of scholars. At any moment you discover that your choice of marriage is pregnant, according to the majority of scholars, you are not allowed to proceed. Don't proceed with the proposal. Don't even proceed with the marriage, because she's having a certain burden, and until that burden is set off, that's when you can proceed. But we can go into some details. If this pregnant woman is a divorcee, or she's a widow, the verse in Surah Al-Talaq is clear. وَأُولَاتُ الْأَحْمَالِ أَجَلُهُنَّ أَنْ يَضَعْنَ حَمْلَهُنَّ. Those who are found to be pregnant, they should wait to contract another marriage until when they lay off their burdens. Another proof or another evidence. It is a very interesting evidence in respect to marriage to pregnant women. The hadith that is narrated by Ruwayfi' ibn Thabit, he says that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا يحل لامرئ يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر. It is not lawful for a man who believes in Allah and the last day أن يسقي ماءه زرع غيره, to water what another person has sown. It is not lawful for a man who believes in Allah and the last day to irrigate the crops of the other. I think that's the language that brings it out better. That's it. And the hadith is narrated by Abi Dawud and Tirmidhi. Why? Farmers know the impact of irrigation on crops. You know, there are many factors. The soil itself and even the irrigation. You know, that's why Imam Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah, he made a very interesting statement. When you marry a pregnant woman and straightforward you go into conjugal rights, he said that the ears actually might be as a result of the irrigation. In other words, the one who planted it is someone else, and then as a result of your irrigation as the man, because you are having sexual intercourse, the ears might resemble you, or the eyes might resemble you. That is the statement of Imam Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah. Okay? Another hadith. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam one time went to a certain battle, and they had some female captives or slave women, and they were distributed among the companions as it was the custom by then. You know, some of them were pregnant, others were not, and the Prophet announced at the loudest of his voice and said, La tuta'u hamilun hatta tadha. Please don't go ahead to have any sexual affair with those who are pregnant until when they give birth. And those whom you cannot establish whether they are pregnant or not, give them time until they experienced at least 1 month. This is also another proof to show that you are not allowed to commit marriage with a pregnant woman. Another one, which is actually so strong, the hadith is narrated by Abi Darda. He said that one time the Prophet was in a certain tent. They brought a woman who was pregnant, And one of the companions was like, I am interested in having marriage with her. The hadith says that the Prophet said, لَقَدْ هَمَمْتُ أَنْ أَلْعَنَهُ. I intended to curse him, to curse that man who is interested in marrying the pregnant woman. لَعَنًا يَدْخُلُ مَعَهُ قَبْرَهُ. That I curse him so that he can go in his grave with that kind of curse. You know? Those are all proof to that effect. Before we could proceed, one would ask, why is it prohibited to marry a pregnant woman? I know the discussion has details, but we shall come to them. One, it is confusing the issue of paternity, which is actually the primary objective of marriage. You don't know, is it your child or it is not? You know? Because you might think that the child belongs to the first man, but maybe along the way the woman experienced some kind of miscarriage which was not noticeable, and later actually it was your pregnancy. So there is that confusion. Women locally here, they know what they call olubuto okuyikako. You can call it incomplete miscarriage. You know? It's like the miscarriage has started, then she's rushed to doctors, and the doctors try to rescue the situation. Now, if she's under another man, maybe the other man is going to make complementary roles so that actually the pregnancy can now be complete. So there is going to be a problem with establishing the paternity of that particular child. That's why Islamically it is not acceptable. So thank you for preempting my presentation. That's where I'm coming. Now, suppose you console yourself that it is actually my pregnancy. Okay? If there are some circumstantial evidence relating to that, still I will go by the opinion of the majority that you should not go ahead and make nikah when she's still pregnant, because of another reason why it is prohibited. In many cases, according to my experience and observation, there is no free consent in that situation. When a young man had an affair with a young woman that culminated into pregnancy, they rush. Let's try to go and make nikah so that we can cover up with this shame, isn't it? That's what takes place. Yet one of the cardinal principles of nikah is free consent. So in this case, it is more of acting under undue influence. It is more of some aspects of coercion, and so on. And by the way, from experience, such marriages have not lasted. I have a serious case which I have ever handled here at campus some many years ago. You know, a certain teacher was in a certain school, and there was a young woman who was the bursar. You know, then they had sexual affairs, of course, outside marriage. You know, and then it culminated into pregnancy. For sure, it was not an intended pregnancy. Now, to cover up the shame, the family of the woman, of this lady, demanded that this man should make nikah, and he had no choice. So they finalized the nikah so that the child can be born into a legitimate relationship. You know? After that, they stayed together. The man got an opportunity to go outside for these, further studies, working and so on. As soon as the man came back, he demanded for divorce. The woman was like, what have I done? When they came to me, the man confessed and said, Doctor, I did not consent. It wasn't my free consent. It was just because I was under pressure. So, if it is affecting free consent, still I go by the opinion of the majority that please, let us wait. Let her deliver so that we can actually test, the seriousness, the commitment of these people. Then at the end of the day, if they choose to go ahead, let them go ahead. Okay? Now I want to appeal to your concern. And I want to call upon young men. Stop consoling yourself that this is my pregnancy, I'm responsible, therefore let me take it on. When scholars were addressing this, they said that if this woman managed to accept to undress herself before you without the legal permission from Islam, then it is also possible that she might have had a sexual affair with another man who is actually not presentable, but it is you whom she can present to the family because you had a relationship. And this is also possible, because, seriously speaking, what is taking place? Presentable men like you, like others, their wallets are not sounding. You can see him smart with the tie, with the suit, but really in terms of footing the bills, it's not okay. Isn't it? But down there is a person who is doing these menial jobs, maybe washing cars or what. His wallet is okay. So as she's passing around, of course she loves you because you are the presentable guy. Okay? But you cannot, settle her needs. The consolation from sisters is like, I can take him on, that man, but I'm not going to go far with him. I'm just getting money from him. But at one moment, she can land into his trap. And she might be so unfortunate that that very one time actually leads into pregnancy. But remember, she's also in courtship or in dating with a university student who is presentable, and they're having even some affairs. So should she be asked who is responsible? Whom do you think she's going to present to the family?
The presentable.
The presentable. So you are consoling yourself that after all also on such and such a day I had this and that, At the end of the day you might be actually leading to the confusion of parentage. So that is it. However,
what is your take?
I am about to make my take because even time is not on our side. Let's look at the second view, the contemporary view. Some scholars have diverted from the traditional view of the majority and allowed having or concluding marriage with a pregnant woman. Okay? There are some few scholars who allowed that. And they made a condition to that. One, we must establish that the parentage is for this man who is responsible. That is one. Okay? In other situations, they also conditioned it that this man should postpone consummation or sexual affairs until delivery. These are 2 points. Their justifications are, Islam calls for covering the mistakes of others. Seriously speaking, it might have been a slight mistake. I have ever been amidst such, and that's why when I come to my take, it is a case by case. I was once confronted with the case of a woman, a young lady, who in my eyes was so modest because I have been teaching her at university. I was observing her in first year until she graduated. After graduation, she actually came and phoned me and said, "Doctor, I am dead." I said, "But I see you are alive. Why are you saying that you are dead?" He said, "I am dead." I said, "What is it?" Said, I have been dating a certain man. Okay? The man lives up country. And she's living from the western part of Uganda. So, she made a plan to go and visit him, then come back. So, she took a bus from western Uganda, landed in Kampala, then she took another one to northern Uganda. Along the way, the bus had a mechanical fault. She had no choice but to sleep over there. You know, the confirmation of the prophet is hadith. Whenever two members of opposite sex isolate, the third one is who? Shaitan. Shaitan defeated them. It was her first sexual encounter, according to her revelation, and it led into pregnancy. You know? But this is a woman who is a role model in the entire family. And even the father and the mother are like telling the siblings, why are you not like her? Why are you not like her? Look at that situation. She came to me and said, Doctor, this man is ready for Nikah. What is your position? Are we together? So, it might be a case by case. In order to cover up the victimization, you know, bastardization of the child, you know, concealing the wrong, and even some scholars are saying, okay, if we don't allow this man who is responsible for the pregnancy to marry, who is going to shoulder this burden? You want to take her to the family? The father is saying, don't ashame us. We don't want you here with your pregnancy. So where is she going to be? That's why the scholars advocate that in order to cover up this wrong and so on and so forth, let it be a case by case. But my statement is, I don't want to open a door that is going to be difficult for us to close. Because every person shall be coming under that guise, something of that kind. My take in conclusion, young ladies, young men, Sharia calls for uncompromised modesty. You know, protect yourself, safeguard yourself as far as possible, as long as you are not yet married. Okay? So, you need to safeguard your privacy without compromise. Also, another issue is, try as much as possible to seek knowledge before you act. Most of the cases we get concerning this question is when people have already landed in the mistake. Why don't you ask before you land into the mistake? Okay? Ideally, pregnant women should wait until they deliver, so that after delivery, they can contract another what? Another marriage. Why? As I said, this is going to test, the seriousness, the commitment, and in this case, they shall be with their free consent and their commitment to go into marriage. That is my take. Finally, on this point, it is a case by case. It can be referred to the qadi. It might be referred to the imam. Having said that, that is only one of the aspects of negative compatibility pregnancy. And inshallah, in our next episode, we are going to look at the other aspect. Those are the women who are prohibited from marriage. In other words, don't even think about them because they are not